First, we'll start off with some good news. Spring Hill drops fluoride from public water rather than wait for new federal guidelines. City leaders have opted to quit adding fluoride to city water altogether. The Spring Hill Board of Mayor and Aldermen voted unanimously Monday for the change, which was requested by Alderman Amy Worth. Now, to the absurd. From the San Francisco Chronicle. The show we love to loathe, TLC's Toddlers and Tiaras has reached a new low. This is not funny or silly. This is downright disturbing. As episodes follow overzealous parents who push their toddlers to wax their eyebrows, wear heavy makeup, and spray on fake Tims in the quest to win sparkly crowns. From ITN News. Dominos in Japan say they're planning to build a restaurant on the surface of the moon. Scientists in the US have warned NASA that the amount of so-called space junk orbiting Earth is at tipping point. A report by the National Research Council says the debris could cause fatal leaks in spaceships or destroy valuable satellites. It calls for international regulations to limit the junk and more research into the possible use of launching large magnetic nets or giant umbrellas. Joel Salatin, author of the book, Folks, This Ain't Normal, activist and leading spokesperson for local sustainable food systems in movies such as Farmageddon, Food Incorporated, Fresh and American Meat, describes how his new book will shake up the food rights movement.
We've been snookered. We've been snookered by the people by the drug companies. We've been snookered by the mechanical food companies. We've been snookered by this quote-unquote developed agenda, the Star Trek mentality that we actually can live very well on bar-coded, vacuum-sealed, amalgamated, extruded, prostituted, reconstituted.
That's your new one.
Amalgam, okay?
Right.
That we really can't live on that.
Uh-huh.
And so at the end of the book, you put it down and you say, wow, how can I restore normalcy in my life? I think there's a real hunger for answers. People, they don't know that they have alternatives. They don't know that they can eat differently and feel better. All they think is drugs and the surgeon. And that's tragic. And so I want to so the book does introduce all these things. Every single person can restore a degree of normalcy, because the chances are the way to bet is that this 100-year blip in history is not going to continue as is. We're not going to continue to ship squash 1,500 miles. We're not going to continue to import apples from China. Chances are there's going to be a return to some of this localized, domestic, visceral touching and involvement with the physical parts of our life.
Hundreds arrested protesting the Keystone XL oil pipeline. American actress Daryl Hannah sits in front of the White House August 30th during a protest against the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. Hannah was among dozens of protesters arrested in a demonstration against the oil pipeline, which, if constructed, would run from Alberta's oil lands in Canada to Texas. Also, check out this farce of an article from AFP, mirrored on activist post. It states, U.S. President Barack Obama Friday withdrew a new set of draft air quality standards, saying they would harm the economy, but environmentalists complained he had caved in to polluting corporations. He has, and we agree here to get in it for truth that Obama is caught swinging in a revolving door. But not only does this article perpetuate the existing false left-right paradigm, but the puppet-in-chief's decision comes at the wrong time, with so many pollutants purposefully sprayed and circled across our sky by jets daily. Speaking of air pollutants, i.e., the WTC dust, here's a report from WebMD.com that states, September 11, 2011 marks the 10th anniversary of the terror attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington. The physical and mental scars are still very real. 2 new studies in the Lancet show just how real these health effects are for our first responders. This finding contradicts a federal report that so illogically found there was not enough evidence to link toxins from the towers to increased cancer rates among firefighters. Cancer would not be covered as a medical issue under funds set aside to help with medical bills of first responders. There were 263 firemen who were diagnosed with cancer in the first 7 years after September 11th. This is more than would be expected in the general population of same-aged men, and more than is seen among firefighters not at the disaster site. Now, as for disasters. It's been an extreme and exhausting year of disasters in the U.S. and across the globe. Seth Bornstein of the Associated Press writes, "Nature is pummeling the United States this year with extremes. With unprecedented triple-digit heat and devastating drought. Deadly tornadoes are leveling towns, massive rivers are overflowing, and now there is unusual hurricane-caused flooding in the northeastern state of Vermont. If what's falling from the sky isn't enough, the ground shook in places that normally seem stable, like Colorado and the entire East Coast. Also, another strong quake, it triggered brief tsunami warnings in Alaska. And, to top it all off, Arizona and New Mexico have broken records for wildfires." End of excerpt from Associated Press. Okay, folks. Don't be fooled by the alarmists' agenda pushing their fraud of global warming with this article and everywhere. Keep in mind that the mainstream media, it is implicit in this weather war. Secretary of Defense Cohen, at an April 1997 counterterrorism conference said, "This. Others, terrorists, are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So there are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work finding ways in which they can wreak terror upon other nations. It's real, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our counterterrorism efforts." End quote from William Cohen. Again, my friends watching this, don't be fooled. Cohen knows full well that the U.S., along with Russia and a few other countries, each on various warring sides and factions of a Luciferian military-industrial academic banking globalist elite complex, are in an illegal race to harness the power of hurricanes, earthquakes. This complex, it bands together when it needs to. Be sure to read this 2005 The Daily Express article, mirrored at globalresearch.ca. 60 separate wildfires, whipped by strong gusts of wind spun by Tropical Storm Lee as it moved north, burned across Texas on Monday, destroying homes. More than 3.6 million acres in the state have been scorched. A fire in Steiner Ranch has burned 150 acres and damaged or destroyed 40 homes. Click the link in the info below to watch aerial video of the scene. 9 people are dead and 32 missing in western Japan. 94 people were injured in 18 prefectures in central and western Japan. Torrential rain continues to pound Miki Peninsula and neighboring areas, with moist air still streaming into the tropical storm. Some areas had more than 50 millimeters of rain in 1 hour on Sunday morning. In a rare event, a big weather system between New Zealand and Antarctica has generated a heavy Pacific-wide swell, bringing the waves to California. Also, an article that helps to whitewash the actual chemtrail operations already happening in our sky. They spray particles for use in conjunction with weather manipulation and frequencies. Geoengineering is already happening on a massive scale and must be stopped.